On Wednesday, Chipper Jones, Vlad Guerrero, Jim Thome and Trevor Hoffman were all elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame via the 2018 Baseball Writers Association of America ballot. They'll be inducted in Cooperstown on July 29 alongside the pair of modern baseball era committee honorees Jack Morris and Alan Trammell, who were elected in December. In the 5 cycles since the infamous 2013 shutout, the writers have elected 16 players, surpassing the 1951, 55 and 52 to 56 totals of 13 honorees for the most in a 5-year span. Beyond that, there's much more to digest with regards to the results, starting with near-miss candidate Edgar Martinez. With an eye toward modern electoral history and more recent trends, what follows here is my rundown of the fates of all 33 candidates on the ballot, some of which will figure into my updated 5-year outlook for Monday. Chipper Jones, 97.2%. Jones joins a trio of former teammates from the Braves dynasty in Cooperstown, namely 2014 honorees Tom Glavine and Greg Maddux and 2015 honoree John Smoltz, via Jason Stark. They're the first quartet of first ballot honorees who each spent at least 10 years with the same team. Jones received the 11th highest share of the vote in history, just 0.04% behind Maddux. Such high scores are a recent phenomenon. 8 of the 10 ahead of him date from 1992 onward, with Ty Cobb, 98.2% in 1936, and Hank Aaron, 97.8% in 1982. The exceptions. Jones is the first third baseman elected by the writers since Wade Boggs in 2005 and the 6th to be elected on the first ballot. Vladimir Guerrero, 92.9%, up 21.2% 1 year after electing Tim Raines. The writers voted in another former Expos outfielder. Since 1966, only 7 candidates have posted bigger year-to-year gains than Guerrero. Luis Aparicio, plus 25.5% from 1982 to 83, is the leader, and Barry Larkin, plus 24.3% from 2011 to 12, the only one besides Guerrero to ride such a surge into Cooperstown in the same year. What's more, Guerrero's share of the vote surpassed that of Roberto Alomar, 90.0% in 2011, for the highest of any second-year candidate. Jim Thome, 89.8%. The election of the Big Slugger, who's 8th on the all-time home run list with 612, was yet another no-doubt blast. Thome is the first baseman elected on the first ballot since Frank Thomas in 2014. He's the 5th member of the 9-member 600 home run club to be elected, after Babe Ruth, 1936, Willie Mays, 1979, Aaron, 1982, and Ken Griffey Jr., 2016. Suffice it to say that it could be a while before Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Sammy Sosa or the still active Albert Pujols joins them. Trevor Hoffman, 79.9%, up 5.9% after missing by just 5 votes last year. Hoffman, who once owned the all-time record for saves, easily sailed in this year, his 3rd of eligibility. He became the 6th reliever elected to the Hall, following Hoyt Wilhelm, 1985, Rollie Fingers, 1992, Dennis Eckersley, 2004, Bruce Sutter, 2006, and Rich Gossage, 2008. Edgar Martinez, 70.4%, up 11.8%, though he was tracking above 80% among published ballots as recently as Monday. Martinez was left off one too many to create what would have been the writers' first electoral quintet since 1936. Nonetheless, Martinez posted the 3rd largest gain of the cycle behind those of Guerrero and Larry Walker, up 12.2%, and his 3rd straight double-digit gain. That's remarkable progress considering that in 2015, his 6th year of eligibility, he received just 27.0% and then, thanks to the Hall's unilateral rule change, had his remaining time on the ballot truncated from 9 years to 4. Now it appears that he has a strong chance to join Raines, Red Ruffing, 1967, Ralph Kiner, 1975, and Jim Rice, 2009, among the ranks of those elected in their final year of eligibility. He's 0.6% ahead of Raines' share heading into 2019. Electoral precedent says Martinez is in very good shape. Since 1966, 19 out of 20 candidates who received at least 70% and had eligibility remaining were elected the following year except Jim Bunning. Bunning received 70.0% in 1987, his 11th year of eligibility, then 74.2% in '88 before falling back 63.3% in '89. He never regained that lost ground from the writers, but was elected by the Veterans Committee in 1996. Mike Messina, 63.5%, up 11.7% in his fifth year of eligibility. Messina posted his third straight double-digit gain, and the fourth largest of this cycle. Obviously, he's trending towards election, but he shouldn't book a room in Cooperstown just yet. Since 1966, only one of the three other candidates who received between 60 and 70% in year 5, namely Aparicio, 67.4% in 1983, were elected the following year. Both Andre Dawson, 61.0% in 2006, and Tony Perez, 65.7% in 1996, needed 4 more years, but those were different times. With 10 years of eligibility remaining, voters treated them, and the entire process, with much less urgency, averaging in the range 5.3 to 6.6 votes per ballot, compared to the modern record of 8.46 set this year. Roger Clemens, 57.3%, up 3.2%. Barry Bonds, 56.4%, up 2.6%. Though Clemens and Bonds each gained nearly 20 points over the past 3 election cycles, this year's gains were smaller than from 2015 to 16, when the voting privileges of roughly 90 writers more than 10 years removed from active coverage were revoked, were being and from 16 to 17, when Butch Selig's election led many voters to soften their stances given that the commissioner who presided over the so-called steroid era was being honored. In the wake of Monday's results, many expressed the belief that this might be the death knell for the pair's chances at 75%. I'm more bullish. Clemens and Bonds gained a bit of ground in the face of the Hall's most direct effort to impede their progress, in the form of Vice Chairman Joe Morgan's simplistic and reactionary letter to voters. Very few minds actually changed, but all 11 first-time voters who published their ballots at the tracker prior to the announcement included Clemens, and 10 of 11 did so for Bonds. Last year, it was 13 out of 15 for both. Combine 4 more iterations of that trend with a shrinking electorate where the no's, each of which takes 3 yes votes to offset, for 75%, are dwindling, and I think they'll get there. Consider these patterns over the past 4 years. The numbers in parentheses are the year-to-year changes. Clemens 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, yes 206199, -7 239, plus 4242, plus 3 number 343,241, -102 203, -38 180, -23% 37.5% 45.2%, plus 7.7% 54.1%, plus 8.9% 57.3%, plus 3.2%. Bonds 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, yes 202195, -7 238, plus 43 238, 0 number 347,245, -102 204, -41 184, -20% 36.8% 44.3%, plus 7.5% 53.8%, plus 8.5% 56.4%, plus 2.6%. Obviously, the trends that work in their favor slowed down this year, but they didn't reverse, and many voters resent the Hall for its belated effort to put its institutional thumb on the scale. If things change only this much from 2018 to 19, then yes, it might be more reasonable to start composing a eulogy to those candidacies, but even then, the battle for ballot space will be lessening, which could soften some voters' resolve. Derek Jeter is the only likely first ballot honoree in 2020, and even the top candidates debuting on the 2021 ballot, Mark Burley, Tim Hudson, Tory Hunter, have little hope of ever being elected. Meanwhile, the electorate will continue to evolve, with younger voters less aggrieved by the conduct of Bonds and Clemens replacing older ones. Curt Schilling, 51.2%, up 6.2%. Schilling regained most of the support that he lost from 2016, 52.3%, to 45.0%, in the wake of his inflammatory comments on social media. However, he burned 2 years of eligibility in the process and appears to be in for a slow climb to election. Of the 6 candidates to receive between 50 and 60% in year 6, 1, Gil Hodges, who got 54.2% in 1974, has yet to be elected by any means. Of the other 5, Dawson, 56.7% in 2007, and Gossage, 55.2% in 2005, were elected 3 years later. Kiner, 58.9% in 1971, and Raines, 52.2% in 4 years, and Gulp, Jim Rice, 51.5% in 2000, in 9 years. Time Schilling doesn't have. Omar Vizquel, 37.0%. The fielding was his candidacy is a polarizing one, and while he got nearly half of the votes that he'll need for enshrinement, electoral history says his candidacy could go either way. Of the 16 candidates to receive between 30 and 45% in their debuts, 8 have yet to be elected, 4 of whom are still on the ballot: Bonds, Clemens, Schilling and Martinez. 4 were elected by the Veterans Committee: Bunning, Pee Wee Reese, Eno Slaughter and Al Lopez, albeit as a manager, and 4 more by the writers: Wilhelm, 41.7% in 1978, and Jeff Bagwell, 41.7% in 20,111. Both needed 6 more years to gain entry. Gossage, 33.3%, 8 and Eddie Matthews, 32.3%, 4, including the still eligible quartet. The highest shares of any first-year candidates not to be elected thus far belonged to Smith, 42.3% in 2003, Steve Garvey, 41.6% in 1993, Luis Dion, 30.9% in 1988, and Maury Wills, 30.3% in 1978. Larry Walker, 34.1%, up 12.2% in his 8th year of eligibility. Walker posted the ballot's second-largest gain and surpassed his previous high of 22.9%, set in 2012, his second year on the ballot. No 8th-year candidate with a percentage that low has been elected by the writers, and the lowest, by any candidate with just 2 years remaining, was a 63.5% received by Rice in 2007. Walker's best hope for election is via the 2022 or 24 Today's Game era committee ballots, and he can look to Trammell as a positive example. The great shortstop didn't top 30% until his 11th year on the ballot, 36.8% in 2012, and surpassed that only in his final year, 40.9% in 2016, but was elected in his first shot via the modern base